A trade agreement, something that's very important that affects us not just here in the States, but also people all around the world. And now we see they're trying to ram this thing through on the midnight hour on a holiday weekend of all things, similar to what we saw with Obama and the National Defense Authorization Act. Now they're coming out again with the TPA. And for more on this, we have David Knight. David Knight, what's going on with this TPA agreement?
Well, of course, you're right, Jakari. They did this with the establishment of the Federal Reserve on Christmas when most of the people were gone. Obama did it with the NDAA on a New Year's Eve, put this thing through. Today, Mitch McConnell came out and told the Senate, you are not going to go home until you pass this trade agreement and reauthorization of the FISA Act in terms of what they want to do with dragnet surveillance. So he laid that ultimatum out there for them.
I hope we'll have an update from the bill managers here shortly. But I want to remind everybody, we're going to finish this bill before we leave. We're going to deal with FISA, and we're going to deal with highways. There's a path forward if people want to take it that could complete all of this work at a reasonable time, probably sometime tomorrow. Or we can make it difficult, but the end won't change. And so I would just encourage at least some level of cooperation here, because we're doing TPA, we're doing FISA, and we're doing highways. I yield the floor.
He has been delaying this. He said last week when they got the authorization to move ahead in the process that they were going to pass this week. He waited to the very end of the week because, of course, that takes it out of the news cycle. We've also seen a document dump from Hillary Clinton today as well. But here's the concern. They did not pass the Trans-Pacific Partnership yet. They did not pass the TTIP, the Transatlantic Partnership yet. This is going to give authorization for 6 years to fast-track trade processes, to secret negotiations just like we've seen. Okay, we should call this Obama trade, and we should understand that the Republicans are full on board with this. They always run this through when there's a Democrat as president, just like they did with NAFTA and Bill Clinton. They know that the camp followers of the Democrats, many of them, will just follow blindly behind their leader, even though this is going to be a massive export of jobs. It's not going to be a free trade agreement whatsoever, and of course, that's the way they get the GOP. The GOP will line up behind their leadership thinking or telling the mainstream people, the people who follow them, that this is about free trade. Therefore, it's about good business. It's not about that. This is managed trade. Now, much has been said about what's going to happen with these trade agreements, which are really treaties. That's the other big lie. That's something that Obama did to run through Obamacare. They called it a tax instead of an individual mandate in order to get it through the Supreme Court. They're calling this an agreement. They're calling it a partnership. So they can run this through and pretend that it's not a treaty. Listen, any agreement, by definition, a treaty is an agreement between one or more nations that affects peace, commerce, or other national, international issues. This is a treaty. It should require 67 votes in the Senate, but instead they're going to get only 51 to pass it. That's what this is really about. But it goes far beyond that. Let me read you some of the stuff that's going on with this Trade Promotion Authority. This is from their own documents explaining it. They're going to have 45 days whenever one of these agreements is presented to them, 45 days to bring it to the floor, to run it through the normal process of going through committees, to be vetted by the majority leaders. If they don't recommend this to be voted on the floor, it will automatically go to the floor. That's the default. So they're removing all the things that might block it or even slow it down. Once it gets to the floor, they're going to only have 20 hours to debate it. No amendments, no dilatory motions, they say. Nothing that's going to stop it. So they can't amend anything, and they have limited debate at that point. They're going to shut down filibusters in the Senate. To sum it up, this is what they say. The procedures, the expedited procedures, and you know what? When they talk about this being expedited procedures, this is really, they ought to call it Federal Express next day delivery, because that's precisely what this is. Everything has been rigged to make sure that this is going to go through immediately without any alteration, without any opposition, without any discussion. See, this is not just secret for the public to see. This is without any discussion or change whatsoever, just ramming this through. They said 3 key elements, of course. That is a mechanism to ensure timely floor consideration. They're going to ram this thing through. Then they want to limit debate, and they're going to prohibit amendments. Anybody who voted for this in the Senate, anybody who votes for this in the House is voting to shut down our Republican process. Our Democratic Republic has a process where we have leaders that we elect. They have an open discussion of this thing. This is what they're shutting down because this is another step to world government. Combining these different regional trading groups, they always do this as a trade agreement. Now they're working on the sovereignty aspects. They are now unifying North America with Europe, unifying North America with Asia. That's what's behind this, and there's going to be a lot more of this coming down the pike. One last thing, Jakari. Today they had an amendment by some Democrats, and it was shut down by Orrin Hatch. The amendment offered by the Democrats was to show us what this Trans-Pacific Partnership is going to be. Show the public what this agreement is going to be. Orrin Hatch shut it down. And this is what he had to say. He said, I don't know what's in the TPP myself. So in other words,
we have to pass it.
We have to pass
it.
Exactly. They're doing the same thing, except this time it's the Republicans working with Obama instead of the Democrats working with Obama. Have to pass it to see what's in it. He says, I'm curious to see what's in it myself. I'm going to be one of the most interested people on earth when it comes. If not the most interested, when they finally agree.
Yeah.
Look, this deal is done. They're ready to put it on the floor. They're going to demand an expedited, overnight Federal Express vote. And that's precisely what they're going to get. And if he wanted to see what was in this, Jakari, he could have walked down and taken a look at it. There's only been 2 or 3 senators who've even bothered to do that. 98% of them could care less because they've been given their marching orders by their multinational corporate masters to get this thing done. That's the bottom line. Absolute total hypocrisy and selling us out. That's what it's really about. We've got one more chance, and it's a slim chance. But here's the only good news, Jakari. The fact that they would feel that they have to do this over a Memorial Day weekend because they're afraid of the public paying attention to what they're doing. We can shut this down if people will pay attention, if they'll wake up to the fact that this is not about free trade. This isn't even primarily about losing jobs. This is far broader than that. This is about ownership of everything. This is about who is going to be in charge of government. So whether it's going to be multinational corporations with their investor-state relationships, elevating themselves to the level of the sovereign governments, or whether we're going to go the other way and give people more power. If you get involved, if you pay attention, you can shut this down. Just as we were talking about earlier today, we could shut down the war on Syria. We could expose ISIS as being a tool, a creation of Western intelligence. We can affect things if you will pay attention, if you will call these people and put pressure on them. We're going to have one more opportunity to do this, but now that they've passed this TPA, it's going to be very difficult to stop this and future agreements.
And not just the TPA, but also the Patriot Act as well. They're trying to ram all this stuff through holiday weekend.
Holiday weekend.
You guys have to get active. You have to get out there. You have to get on the phone. I know it's the late hour and you may not get anything but a voicemail, but at least call these people up, even if it's after the fact. Say, hey, I saw what you did. I do not appreciate that. You will be out of office if you ever do something like this again.
And once they bring this secretly negotiated TPP to the table, there will be 2 weeks for the public to see what's in it. There will be no amendments. There'll be very little debate about it, but you can still put pressure on your representatives on that final up or down vote. And that's what we really have to do. We have to have a full court press to get everybody to grab them by the back of the neck, melt their phone lines about this, because that still works. That's why they're doing this. I'm very cynical about the electoral process, as you probably are as well, but that's why they're doing this on a holiday weekend. They are still afraid of public awareness.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the key.
All right, thank you, David. But whether it's this or something else, you have to stay vigilant and not forget that all these things are coming. If they fail on this, they'll repackage it, send it out there, and have something brand new by the end of the month. So you have to stay vigilant. And I hope you enjoy your holiday weekend. But remember, the fight is not over. And we do encourage you to go to prisonplanet.tv. Get yourself a free trial. You can see the nightly news, the special reports, the rants, all right there on prisonplanet.tv. Well, I'm Jakari Jackson for the InfoWars Nightly News, and we'll see you again this Monday.
InfoWars Life and InfoWarsLife.com is extremely excited to announce our latest release, Winter Sun, a revolutionary type of vitamin D3. Winter Sun is a premium quality vitamin D3 nutritional supplement. It is produced by extracting oil from healthy, nutrient-dense plants known as lichens. Every batch is analyzed for purity and D3 content. It's completely free of toxins and allergens. Simply put, if you want the best at an extremely low price, this is it. Winter Sun is the result of our pursuit of the best source of vitamin D3. The research and development took over 2 years, but the result, as verified by independent laboratories, is the best vegan vitamin D3 product in the world. Read the facts at InfoWarsLife.com about Winter Sun Vitamin D3. Not only does vitamin D3 promote a healthy mood, but vitamin D supports our memory and brain function, something the globalists are targeting. Visit InfoWars.com today or call 888-253-3139.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.
A trade agreement, something that's very important that affects us not just here in the States, but also people all around the world. And now we see they're trying to ram this thing through on the midnight hour on a holiday weekend of all things, similar to what we saw with Obama in the National Defense Authorization Act. Now they're coming out again with the TPA and
Surveillance. So he laid that ultimatum out there for them.
I hope we'll have an update from the bill managers here shortly, but I want to remind everybody we're going to finish this bill before we leave. We're going to deal with FISA, and we're going to deal with highways. There's a path forward if people want to take it that could complete all of this work at a reasonable time, probably sometime tomorrow. Or we can make it difficult, but the end won't change. And so I would just encourage at least some level of cooperation here, because we're doing TPA, we're doing FISA, and we're doing highways. I yield the floor.
He has been delaying this. He said last week when they got the authorization to move ahead in the process that they were going to pass this week. He waited to the very end of the week because, of course, that takes it out of the news cycle. We've also seen a document dump from Hillary Clinton today as well. But here's the concern. They did not pass the Trans-Pacific Partnership yet. They did not pass the TTIP, the Transit Link.
for more on this, we have David Knight. David Knight, what's going on with this TPA agreement?
Well, of course, you're right, Jakari. They did this with the establishment of the Federal Reserve on Christmas when most of the people were gone. Obama did it with the NDAA on a New Year's Eve, put this thing through. Today, Mitch McConnell came out and told the Senate, you are not going to go home until you pass this trade agreement and reauthorization of the FISA Act in terms of what they want to do with dragnet surveillance.